Honestly, yo, this film was not exactly what I expected it to be, but Piece by Piece is the documentary documenting the life and story of the singer, songwriter, rapper, we all know him, Pharrell Williams. It's by director Morgan Neville, and it is a Lego film. When I first seen the trailer for this thing, I was like, okay, that's different. Like, but I thought it was going to be more of a biopic. I didn't think it was going to be like a straight up documentary. I thought it was going to be like a bit of a biopic mixed with a documentary. But no, this is like a straight up documentary, and I was surprised by that. So it's a really like artistic take on what a documentary can be. And that's really all I'm going to get into without getting into too many spoilers. I don't know how I can really get into any spoilers with this because it's just the life story of a person and it's a documentary, so it's not really like anything that's like not readily accessible or like that. You know, if you're a super fan of Pharrell, you probably don't know. Like, a lot of this stuff is probably common knowledge to some people. Some of it is surprising. Some of it surprised me, honestly. Like, I didn't know some of the things that I saw in this film, but I do know a fair amount about Pharrell, and a fair amount about a lot of the artists that he's worked with, because you know a lot of those artists are in my rotation when I'm listening to music. So I didn't come in this film completely unknowing. I didn't come in there completely ignorant. I know a bit about Pharrell. I know a lot about Jay-Z, Kendrick Lamar, all these guys, Noriega, whoever. I know about them, and I know about their music. But it's going to be a little different trying to break this thing down than it is like a regular film that I would, because like I said, it's a documentary. So it's a bit tougher to like grade it in the same way because it's different. It's not the same as just like a regular narrative storytelling film. Like, it's a documentary. We're just detailing a person's life, and it's like from one of the most reliable sources because it's coming from the person, even though there can be some bias in there. It's coming from the person, so it's going to, you know, be a little different to grade than it is going to be an actual film. So, but before we get too much into this, man, we're going to do it like we do it every single time here, and that we're going to get into some of the good, we're going to get into some of the bad, and then we're going to get into some of these stats, my guy. So let's start with the good. Honestly, like, making this a Lego film has to be one of the most inspired, unique, creative, and honestly, damn near genius decisions that I've seen out of any documentary of the sorts. Like, making it an animated film, yet alone a Lego animated film, it provides, there are limitations to it, but it also provides a lot of, you know, new grounds to play with, and like how you visualize things and how you show things and how you put things down in this. You can get really creative and you can get really funky with it, and I think they do a lot in this film. Like, when you're watching it, it's like, it's beautiful to look at. And the same thing with all these Lego films. Like, honestly, it's hard for me to believe that they do these Lego films without a single actual Lego brick. Like, this is all CG, and it's like, you feel the texture of these Lego pieces, and it looks so great. Like, it's amazing. I love it. Like I said, it's a documentary there, so it's not going to be like a lot of like voice acting because it's a documentary instead of just like a straight up, you know, narrative film. So I can touch on the voice acting, and there's like a few parts where it's kind of like voice acting, but honestly, like, it's never like anything that's like explicitly voice acting. I guess it's fine for those few little parts, but you know, like, it's kind of like, where are you with that? You know what I mean? Like, you kind of act out a few scenes a little bit. You get, with it being like a Lego film, you get to kind of like show a few of these scenes that like obviously there wouldn't be footage of from back in the day, but you can kind of like show these scenes in this animated fashion, and you know, that's where some of the little voice acting comes in, and I think it's done really creatively. Like I said, the voice acting is, you know, whatever, but I think it's pretty good. My two biggest problems with this film are A, pacing, and B, the clarity of the timeline in this thing. Now, a guy like me, I didn't have much hard time keeping up of like when things were taking place and the order of when things were supposed to be happening, because like I said, I'm familiar with Pharrell Williams, a lot of his music. I'm familiar with a lot of the people he's worked with, and I know when a lot of these songs came out. I know when a lot of these things were happening. So, I'm familiar with that stuff. So, like, I can kind of tell, like, yeah, this happened around '03. This was happening in '03, and this right here was happening in around, like, '09, 2010. But they don't really state stuff like that explicitly in the film. It just kind of goes pace by pace. And it can be confusing if you're really trying to like latch on to like and you want a sense of like time. When is this stuff happening? But at the same time, I don't think that's the main point of this. But like I said, I think it can be clearer, and I think that is going to be a problem for some people watching the film. Other than that, like I said, it's the pacing is kind of off. Like, this movie is about an hour and 30 minutes, like standard feature film length. But it doesn't feel like that. It feels like it's at least 2 hours. And I didn't check the time, how long the film was before we went to go see the film. And when we walked out, I was like, God, that film felt long. And when I looked, I was like, oh, that was only an hour and like 33 minutes. Like, wow. Like, it felt like we were in there for a minute. And like, we were running late to the movie. So like, we got there like just as the movie was starting. Like, I literally walked in and they were doing the whole little AMC stick. Like, when they have the freaking guy racing and all that shit. And then, the Nicole Kidman and all that shit with the AMC theater stuff. That's when I walked into the theaters. And my wife walked in just a tad bit after me. She had to use the restroom. But like, we got there literally just as the movie started. We didn't miss any of the movie. We skipped out on all the trailers because we were running late. And honestly, like, the movie feels longer than it actually is. So those are my two big problems with the films. I don't know how much it's going to detract you from the film. It detracted me just a little bit from the film, mainly the pacing issue. But other than that, man, like, it's a pretty good film. Like, it's like I said, it's a documentary, but like, it's done in a super artistic way where I feel like this is going to be easier to digest and easier to watch sometimes than other documentaries. I know some people are like really big fans of documentaries, and I've watched my fair share of documentaries. Like, I do like watching documentaries, but I'm not jumping at a documentary over like an actual narrative piece of work. But I think this is one that like you could kind of like set between being a narrative piece of work, like in a regular feature film, and a documentary. So like, this kind of has like, it's kind of in this gray area in between. I think it leans more towards a documentary. But with the artistic style and the Lego bricks and all this shit put in there, it just brings it more into that gray area in the middle. But we're going to start breaking this thing down into its grades. And for casual audiences, piece by piece, the Pharrell Williams story is going to get a B. For movie fans, piece by piece is going to get a C. And for critics, piece by piece is going to get a C. When you're asking me about piece by piece, honestly, I think this is one you can go ahead and consider adding to your collection. Honestly, I don't know how long this review is going to end up being. I knew it was probably going to be a shorter one because I don't have a whole lot to talk about on this film. It doesn't leave you with a whole lot to talk about. It is very interesting to see like some more of Pharrell's story, because I didn't know all of his story like growing up and all that stuff, but I did know a lot of his story once he was in the game and he was doing his thing musically. So it was interesting to see some of that. But other than that, like there's not a whole lot that you can take away from this film. It's not a whole lot that you can say, hey, they did, you know what I mean? It's a good film, very creative, and it's a fun watch. It just feels a little long. I gotta get going, dude. I'm about 12 minutes into recording. It's probably gonna be cut down to like 6 or something like that. I gotta go run. I gotta get ready to go see Terrifier 3. I'm gonna go see that today, and I'm probably gonna end up dropping this video after I drop the Terrifier video. But yeah, I'm gonna go be doing that. So I'm kind of busy today, so I gotta get going. I will see you guys next time. Later.